What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and apologies. It's been a busy few days. There wasn't a match reaction for the game on Saturday against Southampton for a few reasons. One, I've just been really busy with stuff with the channel, so the whole weekend's been taken up by some plans that we've got, just to do something a little bit different, which will be out next Monday. Which, if you haven't seen it, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a full-blown podcast. It's going to be available on Spotify and Amazon Music and everywhere like that. And it's going to be called The Debrief, the EFC Debrief. It'll be talking about the game, be talking about the week, be talking about where we are as a football club, week in, week out, a little bit more in-depth for you guys to listen to in the car. It will also be on YouTube as well, but, you know, it's predominantly for the people that want to listen to me, which is mad in its own right, while they're, driving. So, look, let's get into it. There's no point sugarcoating anything that really needs to be sugarcoated. Everton played Southampton, and let's be honest, bar 15 minutes in the first half and bar probably 10 minutes in the second half, Everton didn't turn up. They didn't lay a glove on Southampton. You could certainly argue for a penalty, maybe even two, in the first 15 minutes for Everton. But I always think, if you're banking on these chances, Everton just won't get them. We've seen that time and time again with VAR, and it shows. And it was a painful game. It was a painful game because it was a game that a lot of us went into not mega excited, not mega optimistic, but there was a little bit more belief. It was the first time in a long time where I sat there and thought, you know what, we could do a decent job away from home today. We'd come back off a very good result against Leeds, which was sort of a reaction for a very poor Newcastle game, which was disappointing, having beaten Brentford, etc. And, it's disappointing, really, that we couldn't pick up a point, especially when we started as well as we did. We were breaking the lines down really well. Alan was getting on the ball in midfield. We were popping it about. We were being aggressive. And it, we looked like a good side. We looked like a team that could score goals. We almost scored within the first 3 or 4 minutes. Just a poor touch. But, we were in countless times and we just didn't carry it on in the game. Southampton grew into the game, grew in confidence. And they took their goals well. Armstrong's one of these players that a lot of people just thinks a decent average Premier League footballer. And I know his goal scoring record and all of that is not necessarily fantastic, but I think he's a really good player. I think he's capable of breaking lines. I think he's a good ball carrier. I think he's a good passer of the ball. I think he's physically built well. He's just a player that Everton struggle to play against. We see very often when you've got a stat chat in the middle of the park, we do struggle. And whether Armstrong was popping up on the right-hand side, the left-hand side, whether he was sort of playing in a defensive role, whether he was playing in an attacking role, because he is a workhorse, he gets everywhere, we did struggle with him. And he wasn't the only one. We saw it when Long come on and scores, and you just sit there and you think, is that for real? Like, are we that bad that there's players coming on that haven't scored in God knows how long? They're scoring against us. It's disheartening. And we go into a game next week where it could be even worse. We are at home. The crowd will be buoyant. They'll be buzzing, as they should be, because the team need us more than ever. And that's not a joke. They need us more than ever because there isn't many fighters in that team. So all of the fighting has to do and come from the stands. And it's really important that we do that together. We fight together. We support each other. And I think if we're going to go to that game with a positive spirit, it's got to be, first of all, it's got to be that stand. It's got to be the noise that we make when Z-Cars comes on and, when we hear the siren, etc. It's got to be loud. It's got to be bold. It's got to be brash almost. We've got to believe that those 3 points are ours from the moment the ball kicks off, because there's no doubt Manchester City are a top side, and there's no doubt there'll be a lot of people in here right now that's saying we're going to get smashed 4-0, 5-0, but I just feel like we need a bit of belief, especially at home. We've got to we're going to have to pick up some results against some of the bigger teams. And, you know, there's no one bigger than Manchester City right now. And I'm not saying we'll get a result. And I'm not sitting here making this a match preview, but there has to be a significant difference with Everton's away form than there is at home. And there is. Everton have won once. Well, we've won once away this season, and that was away at Brighton, who up until recently were on a fantastic run and playing really good, attractive football. They've sort of lost their way a little bit, but when we played them, they were unbeaten. They were fantastic. So we need to find a solution, whether it's going to be picking up some points away from home at places like Watford. We have to. And it's going to be beating teams like Newcastle and getting the odd massive result, i.e. beating a Manchester City, beating a Man United, beating a Liverpool. It doesn't matter who. We've just got to get a result against some of these bigger teams, because that's where the confidence will come, and this can all start on Saturday. A few years ago, it was a long time ago now, I think it was 2006. Might have been 7. 2006, I think it was. Everton played Chelsea at Goodison, and James Beattie was awarded a penalty in the 9th minute or something, and he stuck it home, and I think we got a 1-1 draw, and that started our season. You know, it started our season. I seem to think we finished 10th that season, and I'm not saying we're going to finish 10th. If anything, I think we're probably going to finish 15th or 16th, but I do think it's a home form that keeps us up, and, you know, there's a lot of people who are very negative about going down, and I get it, people are worried, but I just feel like we will keep Everton up. We as fans will keep them up. And, you know, if ever there's been a time where they need us more than we need them, it's now. You know, it's now. But this is what I go on to with the debrief. I also talk about some of the negatives. And there was a few negatives for me on Saturday, and not just from the people on that pitch. And one of them was from the support of the football team to those fantastic away fans. Some of them couldn't get to the game. Some of them were stuck. Some of them had real issues getting to Southampton. And unless I've missed something, apart from one tweet where they've come out and said, you know, we love your support, they did nothing. There was people who had to stop overnight on the way home. There was people that only got as far as London and Basingstoke. Everton are a Premier League football club that should have been able to at least get in contact with some coach companies and round a few people up, especially when a lot of this was happening at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, afternoon, and there was more than enough time to get a lot of these people to the game and home from the game. But Everton didn't do it, and that, for me, was an absolute disgrace. I've spoke to a few season ticket holders, and I know they feel the same. And there'll be a lot of people on here that will say, look, you know, you take your chance when you go away. That's true, of course you do. You take any chance when you do anything, but the facts are, Everton need its fans more than ever, and they made no effort whatsoever to ensure the safety of those fans, and that is a disgrace. And unless those season ticket holders are reimbursed or provided with something as a thank you for their support, I think the club have really missed a trick there, and more importantly, let a lot of people down, left a lot of people with a very sour taste in their mouth, and Everton don't need more of that. There's already been campaigns for board changes. There's already been campaigns for managers out in this season, and Marcel Brands, etc. We don't need another bad PR, public relations disaster. And in my opinion, I thought Saturday was a disaster. I thought Everton were a shambles. I do not understand how they didn't do that. So you've got Everton fans who have travelled all the way, you know, starting at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, to get to the St Mary's for 3 o'clock kickoff, who have essentially been abandoned either in Southampton, in London, in Basingstoke or anywhere else. And it was only for the fact that there were so many Everton fans who managed to get lifts, or, you know, new people who could take them to the game, or people were spending fortunes on buses and taxis and other transport. Everton did nothing, and that really disappointed me. But going back into the game, and more importantly, going back into the way that we lost. Everton lost this game because they wasn't good enough, and that's blatantly obvious, isn't it? But what was particularly disappointing is how we didn't have a shot on target, yet we had 9 shots. You know, we were very ambitious in trying to get shots off, but we couldn't hit the target, not once. And it really was epitomised in the first 4 minutes when I think it might have been Gordon who was through, and he just missed the ball. I'm sure it was about 4 minutes in, and he missed the ball, and you sit there and you just think that's your chance. And what it seems to feel like is if Everton do not score early, they lose the game. You know, as soon as Alan got his yellow card, it's almost like we were scared in midfield. We were dead. And, you know, Lampard's not going to get any criticism whatsoever for this. He's been dealt the hand he's got, and this is his team. Unfortunately for him, there's a lot of players there I'm sure that he wouldn't want, but they are his team. They've got to do the job for him this season. But it surprised me that in that second half, when it was obvious for the last 20 minutes we were being overrun in midfield, he didn't go 3 in the middle. And that really, really surprised me because Iwobi had done nothing. And although he had a good game the week before, I'm not digging him out for it, he just didn't get into this game. There was options on the bench. You know, there was genuine options on the bench for the first time in a long time. And it could have been a Dele Alli. It could have been an Andros Townsend. But he took off Allen and brought on Gomez. And we were dead at that point. We were absolutely finished at that point. And, you know, when you sit there and you think, Everton have gone and spent £20 million on Mikalenko, yet they're playing John Joe Kenny. Then when they spent £15 million on Patterson and they're still playing Coleman. And I'm not individually digging these players out. I don't think just because I'm naming these Everton players, I'm sitting there slagging them off. I'm not. But it's very obvious that they wasn't in the game. And when are the other players going to get that chance? And again, that's not on Lampard. You know, a different manager brought both of those players in. But there seemed to be some attacking options on that side. And, you know, Iwobi was poor, you know, and yet I'm not going to say he's fantastic or he's a good footballer, but there's El Ghazi on the bench, there's a Townsend on the bench, there's a Dele Alli on the bench, and I know Dele Alli he comes on with 15 minutes to go. And a lot of people are already saying, is his heart in it? Well, unless I see him for 90 minutes or see him start a game, I can't make that judgment. So it's really difficult to assess where we are right now. And I just felt like 4-4-2 in this game away at Southampton, I thought it was a mistake. And I thought I was wrong within the first 15 minutes because I thought we could have been 2 up, 3 up. I really did. I thought we were fantastic. But after that, we were so poor. And as soon as Armstrong scored his goal, the game was over. There was literally only one side in it, and it shows with the stats. It showed with the possession, and you know, Kyle Walker-Peters ended up looking like Kaffir. He looked absolutely unbelievable. You know, you've got Livramento doing exactly the same damaging job. You've got Ward-Prowse pulling the strings. You've got Armstrong in the middle doing a great job. You've got Brozier holding play up. You've got Shay Evans doing exactly the same. And we're conceding goals to Shane Long. I mean, I don't know what I'm meant to say. There's a positive. There isn't one. And this was the frustration for me. This was the frustration for me that how is it that we can go from being in a game to not being in a game over a yellow card? Because that's what it boiled down to. As soon as Alan got booked, we bottled it. And I just don't understand that. I don't understand where that mentality has come from. Because, yeah, Carlo Ancelotti didn't do a great job in hindsight. He really didn't. He finished 10th with a group of players that I felt could have done better. But then to caveat my own argument, that pretty much same group of players, bar James Rodriguez and a couple, is 16th in the league with, what is it, 9 points or 12 points now in the last 18 games. Something stupid. It's just not good enough. And Frank Lampard, he's got a massive job on his hands. And I feel sorry for Frank. I feel sorry for any manager that took this job, because this Everton side, they're not capable of winning games on a consistent basis. And this is why our job as fans is to get them over the line at home. It really, really is. Another couple of players I want to mention. Again, I'm not digging them out. But Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. I feel like Richarlison's trying at the minute. Possibly too hard, but I feel like he's trying. I feel like Calvert-Lewin's trying to a degree, but I feel like he's not in the games. He's not getting himself involved, and when he is getting himself involved, he's not really doing anything to affect it. And you know, this is a striker that's being touted as a 40-50 million pounds potential signing for other clubs that are higher in the league than us, and I'd snap their hand off as of right now. I really would, and I don't like saying it. I just need to see more from him, and I know he's been injured. I know he had a big injury. But he had moments like this before he was injured. You know, like, think back to last season, and he had a massive goal drought. He'd scored something like 10 goals in 8 games last season, and yet he finished on 16 or whatever it was. I need to see more. I need to see consistency. And, you know, if we're not going to see that, then let's see players who will put the blue shirt on, who will try hard. And that, again, isn't a dig at Lampard. It's a dig at where this football team is, because we can't trust the players we have. And when we're losing to teams like Southampton, as poorly as we are, it's really bad. You know, they had 11 shots on target in that game. 11. And we didn't even have one. We didn't have one shot on target. I just think this football club, when this season ends, and irrespective of where they are in the league, they have to assess what they do going forward. This internal audit and all this rubbish. This internal audit needs to be pointing at the board. It needs to be pointed at recruitment. It's obvious what's gone wrong. You don't need an internal audit for it, and I appreciate people wanted it done. But look at yourselves in the mirror, because that's where we are now, and it's as a result of you lot. And this is what frustrates me. It almost feels like it doesn't matter what players we've got on the pitch or what manager's in charge of them. There's no fight. There's no ambition. And although we're saying that we're ambitious, although Lampard said we were an ambitious club, tell me where we've shown that. Tell me when we've shown that. The first window under Mashiri, the second one under Silva. Where? We spent a lot of money on average players, who, by the way, some of the money we spent on some of the other players actually looks like decent money. I mean, Ademola Lookman for Leicester yesterday gets a goal and he looks decent. Looks like he can beat a man. He couldn't get in the Everton side. Couldn't get in an Everton side where Klassen was on the wing. You know, I look at some of the signings we've made over the years, and I just sit back and I think, no wonder we are where we are. You know, we're getting tanked away to Southampton, and look, this isn't a conversation about how good Southampton are and how poor we are. But Southampton really finished us, and it was an embarrassing performance in the end, and could have been more. If it wasn't for Jordan Pickford, it could have been 4 or 5. How can we go from dominating, front foot, aggressive, to being like rolled on our backs, having our tummy tickled? And that's what has to change. This is why these big games are so important, because we have to stand up. Because if we don't, Man City could beat us 9-0. They could smash us. They could score every 10 minutes. So, massive, massive, massive game on Saturday. Match preview will be out on Thursday as normal. There'll be videos every day this week now, as promised. It's just been because I've been busy sorting out podcast. And next week will be the start of the EFC debate at 7:30 every Monday. So, guys, it's been a pleasure as always. I'll see you soon. Keep smiling. Up the toffees. Peace.